Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's your boy Rory with Roar Sports Media, and I have a very special guest today, the one, the only Commissioner Yas, uh, big Bengals personality. I'm really glad to have you on. I really enjoy your content, just any which way I get it from Twitter or from TikTok. I'm a huge fan of your fandom, and I appreciate you coming on the channel.
Thank you. It's so funny because I never know what to say when people introduce me, but that was so sweet. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to join.
Yeah, I mean, it's just great to. So I'm a super extrovert. I just love talking to people, and that's why I got into the whole YouTube and Twitter stuff. I just like
Yeah.
having conversations, and I especially like talking about my teams. I'm a huge football junkie, and I've noticed that you are too. Can you tell me how you became a Bengals fan?
Yeah, so I think I was a freshman in high school and I didn't really have an NFL team, but I loved sports. I loved football. My
Mm.
family was split between Niners fans and Raiders fans. I grew up in Northern California, and while I was growing up, I just like never really established a team, and my brother-in-law was a big Chad Johnson fan. Um, and he would like always tell me about him and show me his highlights and stuff like that. And orange happens to be my favorite color. So he wasn't like a huge Bengals fan because he was a 49ers like diehard, but he loved to watch the Bengals at that point in time. So he would always like have the games on or tell me about them and stuff like that. And then it just ended up sticking. And my first two games were Bengals versus Raiders. And then the second one, I got to meet Chad during like a fan lunch that he did. And he came over and like my sister brought him a gift. She brought like trivia game, I think it was. It was like a like puzzles and like different stuff like that, like trivia games, but they were brain games. And he was like having a blast doing with my sister, and like it was just funny. And then him and I like started talking, and it was just a really cool experience because I was so young and just like getting to talk to this like guy that made me a fan of the team and stuff. Like it was just an insane experience. And then after that, it just stuck. Like I was like, I'm never going back. And orange happens to be my favorite color. So I was like, I really like this team. I also am a San Francisco Giants fan. So I was like, oh, I kind of like the orange and black from both my teams. And I don't know, it just stuck. Like, and I don't think I've said this on any show that I've gone on yet, but I honestly think that the fact that so many people gave me so much crap about liking the Bengals for so long because it's so random, it made
Mhm.
me a bigger Bengals fan because I had to know everything about them and I had to like always be on point because people would always come at me with the crazy questions because it was so like unprecedented and odd that I was a Bengals fan living in California, you know? So I feel like people hating on me kind of made me a bigger fan, and here I am.
Yeah, I mean, same thing. Like usually where I'm from, everyone is a Cowboys fan. Arkansas, like that's the biggest, clearly draw. Well, I mean, Cowboy fans are literally everywhere in the United States. Like it's insane, even though like they haven't been like a really, really, really good team since the 90s, but their
Yeah.
fan base is huge. Um, but yeah, being a Bengals fan is, it's honestly, you're like a unicorn. Like really, like I'm the only one I ever see wearing a Bengals hat or Bengals merchandise or whatever that. I mean, even like every once in a while, you might pass by someone's like, "Hey man, are you from Ohio?" I'm like, "Actually, not, dude." And he's like, "Oh, I saw you're a Bengals fan." So am I. Like, it's just kind of like, yeah, it's kind of like being a unicorn, man. It's just not very many of us really in the world. So I think it's kind of special in that aspect. And you're right. Like you have to know your stuff when it comes to the Bengals. Like, well, no, actually, we're not that bad. It's just that, I mean, but it's so funny because like we're really not that bad of a team whenever you break it down in our history. But like I think that we get such a bad misconception from the media. Like this past year in the draft, I was like wanting to light my hair in a fire. I'm like, we're not that bad. Like, what in the world, Joe Burrow? I mean, it's not that bad of an organization. Like, we consistently have quarterbacks for up to like 8 to 10 years at a time. Like, our quarterback play and consistency hasn't been bad enough to where we're just constantly getting rid of quarterbacks like the Raiders, like the Jets, like the Browns. Like, dude, they've had no consistency, and those organizations are ran kind of horribly, but like they don't have the same stigma around them for some reason. Like it doesn't make sense to me personally as a Bengals fan, like watching the NFL. I mean, I cover the entire NFL right now, but being a Bengals fan, it just kind of infuriates me that we get that misconception.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
totally
but I
agree
mean,
with you. I feel like a reason that we have that like misconception is just because we don't get as much coverage as everybody else. So the coverage that
mhm.
we get is very limited. And when people only have a small sample size, it's really hard to establish yourself any differently. But hopefully that's going to change now that we have Joe Burrow and we're kind of on the up and up.
Oh man, so I'm not gonna lie. Last year in November, whenever I watched LSU play Alabama, and I was like, this guy is special, special. Like you saw it in the Texas game, you saw it against like other SEC teams when he played Bama and showed out the way he did. Like that's special because like he played against like five, like about five stars on that Alabama defense and tore them apart, man. Like he didn't have any mercy and just went in there. I was like, I need that for my team, man. Because don't get me wrong, I love Andy Dalton. He was a good player for us for a long time, but when it comes to like killer instinct, you just see it with some players. Like you saw it with Tua Tagovailoa in the Alabama Georgia game. Like at halfway point, Nick Saban, you see Tua stand next to him, and he has the eyeballs of an assassin. Like you just
Yeah.
know whenever they have that killer instinct. And Joe is just kind of like he's just Joe cool. He's just kind of like the moment's never too big for me, like ever. And
Yeah.
that's what you get whenever you have a franchise quarterback like Joe Burrow of that caliber. You have hope, and you have that just I can't wait to watch more football. Where it hasn't been that way for the Bengals for the past I don't know. I would say since 2015
Yeah.
was, probably whenever we were like, okay, we're in purgatory.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but well, as we're right now talking about the future, how do you think the Bengals have looked through the first 8 weeks of the NFL? Yes.
So I think they look better than I expected them to look. And I'm like
Mhm.
the very positive, optimistic fan. But after last season, I knew just from watching the games that there was a lot of pieces that had to come together. And I was also a person that watched Joe Burrow and was like, oh my gosh, like this guy has to be our quarterback. And even when like there was rumors floating around about like Zach Taylor and the coaching staff like really liking Justin Herbert and stuff, I was like, don't you dare, like do
Mm-mm,
not do this.
mm-mm.
Something that I knew was that Joe Burrow is an amazing player, but at LSU, he had all the weapons he needed. It wasn't just him that was an amazing player. He was a
Mhm,
standout, but he had an entire team of just everybody playing the best football. So I feel like I knew that coming into Cincinnati, he was going to have some difficulties. I think that how we're playing or how we played through the first 8 games when you're not looking at wins and losses, I expected that. Um,
mhm.
I'm one of those fans that's very salty that thinks that a lot of those games should have been wins. Like we should probably be 6-2 right now, but it happens and whatever. But I don't know. I think the past 2 games they've looked so much better. Or past 3 games, the offense has just been like really able to pick it up. And I think that if they can just keep their high scoring games and the defense can figure it out, then we're going to be in a really good place for the second half of the season, which obviously the schedule gets a lot easier. So I think we're going to get some more wins. I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, so I think that most fans they weren't like, yeah, we're going to go to the playoffs. I think that
Yeah.
this is a year where you evaluate what you have and see what you can do going forward to better your team. So when it comes to the first 8 weeks of the year, they Bengals have not looked bad. They really haven't. If you just take away that Ravens game, which was a slaughter, and to be honest, it was the offensive line and Joe Burrow's like kind of like rookie moments. I mean, Joe held the ball for too long in that game, just
Yeah.
against the blitz, and wasn't reading it to the best of his ability. But when you take away that one game, the Bengals have only lost by a total margin of 2 touchdowns. Like they've been in every single game this year so far, and going forward with how well they've played against the Colts, the Browns both times, they should have won against the Chargers. That was a touchdown. Everyone, oh my God.
Don't even get me started.
I can't even like that was a perfect way to for Joe Burrow to AJ Green in the end zone, man, and they stole it from us. But it is what it is. You can't go back and you can't change it. But when you look at it from a whole perspective, yes, they're a 2-5-1 team, but really, the context matters. They have the ability to be a 6-2, maybe even a 7-1 team right now, and I think going forward, I think that we can rattle off some wins because we're playing the NFC East, and wow, oh
Yeah, literally.
my
I
God,
think,
like,
well, I was just gonna say this because I actually got asked this question the other day, and I do wonder what you think about this really quickly while
mhm,
we're on this topic. But somebody said to me, would you rather have the Bengals continue to win this season, which they can probably do? Because I was like, oh yeah, we're definitely getting way more wins. Or would you
mhm.
rather win one or two and then put you in a better position for a good draft pick? Like it could be that other big player that we need. And at that point, I was like, darn, I really want to see us get a win against the Steelers. And then after that, I don't know. I'm kind of on the let's get a good draft pick team, but I also do want to see them do well because I think the players deserve it. It's just really hard.
Yeah, so I get it. Talent is a huge factor whenever it comes to the NFL, but winning organizations don't worry about the draft. They worry about winning and building a culture of winning. Like the great dynasties, the Patriots, the Steelers, the Ravens, they play with what they got, but they coach them up.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, yes, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a huge draft guy, and us picking number one in the top 10, I love it, but I hate it also because I want my team to win.
Yeah.
So when you come from that let's lose to get a better draft pick, I mean, right now that's going to be extremely hard just because the amount of teams being horrible in the
Yeah,
NFL.
that's
So right
true.
now, I would want to build the confidence of my team. I would go out there, try and win every single game, and then hire more scouts. Bengals, please. Like,
Yeah.
come on, like it's not hard. Like, just have better scouting, go to the Senior Bowl, evaluate talent better, because you can get great players at the end of the first, in the second, and early third. Like you can have, Jesse
Yeah.
Bates was a second round pick, best
Yeah.
safety in NFL right now, graded. So I mean, if you draft well, the pick, yes, you have a better chance of getting a Hall of Famer for sure because you have more picks, but winning organizations don't worry about draft order because they worry about winning, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
that's the mentality that I want the Bengals to adopt because I clearly want to win. I just want to see that for the franchise, and I want them to change the perspective of us. If we're going into every year and we're like 3-5 and or sorry, yeah, 3-3-5, and we're like, oh man, just lose out. Man, there's a lot of years where we're just going to lose out, and it's not going to be great to
That's true.
watch, and no one's going to respect us. So I mean, right now we have our quarterback of the future. Gain the confidence, evaluate your talent, see what you can get rid of off the cap, and then figure it out through the draft and in free agency. Because this year, I mean, I talked to the Bengals captain earlier this year, I think around before the Jags game, and we were talking about players who the Bengals tend to hold on for maybe like too long, like Carlos. I mean, it ended up
Yeah.
getting stale for him here because of the not winning and not, and then the coaching staff moving away from him because he's getting a little bit older. Which, by the way, I feel like the Bengals did the best by Carlos by sending him to a contender, and us,
Yeah.
getting a an offensive lineman and all that stuff. I feel like both parties won in that situation, and that was a very respectful way to send Carlos off, even though they weren't uh, on the best of terms, I would say. So, I mean, how'd you feel about that, Yaz, the Carlos situation?
To be honest, I didn't really comment on it a lot because I was kind of hurt by it.
Hmm.
I've always talked about how I feel like the Bengals don't do a good job at holding on to players, which I understand that like some players, oh God, like some players we need to just let go of after maybe 2 to 3 seasons. But then the players like Gino or Carlos that have played with us for so many years, or
Hmm.
even AJ, like so many people have been like, let's get rid of AJ, let's trade AJ, let's get something for AJ. But it's like AJ is in his 30s. He probably has just like 1, 2, 3 seasons left in him, maybe. I don't know, depending on how this plays out. But if AJ Green, let's say, for example, only has 2 seasons left in him, I want to see him retire a Bengal.
Me too.
we don't have, I mean, we do have people retired as Bengals, but like we always kind of like let go of players and then they go somewhere else and they have great careers there and then they retire there and they just like that's kind of what they're remembered as versus I would love to have like great amazing players that have retired
Mhm.
with the Bengals. And so with Carlos, I felt like I don't know, I was just kind of upset because he was always a Bengal that I was really happy and like proud about, and I always like said he was one of my favorites. So when we got rid of him to go to Seattle, where I know he's gonna probably just ball out and have a great time, it was kind of like, dang it, and especially like the exit wasn't graceful whatsoever. So
Mhm.
for me, it's more of just like I want people to want to stay in Cincinnati their entire career. I want them to retire there. I want them to be proud of that organization. I want them to like grow and want to give back to Cincinnati because they had such a great, happy career there. But unfortunately, that's just like a culture that still needs to be built. And
Mhm.
so I was pretty sad about him. But I mean, I'm glad that we still have Gino. And I hope that maybe with Carlos being gone now, I felt like they were both being tied into each other so much. But realistically, we did not know what Gino was thinking. And he was just kind of like being dragged through the mud with Carlos when I feel like maybe now that that distraction is gone, hopefully
Yeah.
that they have a better game plan to get him playing more. And I mean, he's a Pro Bowler. He should be in there. He should be getting those snaps. So hopefully the second half of the season will be good for him.
Yeah. So, I mean, Carlos is, a quintessential Bengal for a long time. I love Carlos to death. And I'm glad that we sent him to a contender to play out for more than likely the rest of his career, in a really, really good winning culture. I mean, I would have loved to see him retire as a Bengal, all that stuff. But, when it comes to that point where you don't feel like that in the locker room and it's becoming I'm not going to say cancer, but it's just bad vibes. And you're trying to
No,
build a
definitely.
winning organization around a new quarterback. You don't need that distraction. So I feel like the Bengals did the best they could for both parties in doing what they did. Now, when it comes to Geno Atkins, he's actually the first jersey I ever bought because it's the first jersey I could afford.
That's
But
awesome.
I love Geno Atkins, and for me, he is a first ballot Hall of Famer because he has been the most dominant defensive tackle since his second year after his ACL. But Geno, yes, please bring him back for the rest of his career. But also on my business side, AJ too. I mean, if he is not quite the AJ Green that he was in that top 5 category, I hope that we can come to a understanding with him so he comes back on a reasonable price because he needs to understand what we're trying to build here. We need the capital from his $19 million he's getting this year. So maybe bump it back a little bit, help the team out, and we'll
Yeah.
keep you here as a Bengal, and we'll keep money in your pockets. Uh,
Yeah. He has also said, oh God.
well, go ahead, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say he has also said like so many times that he wants to retire Bengal and that he wants to
Mhm.
finish out his career in Cincinnati. So for me, it's like I feel like he probably would be willing to negotiate a little bit, especially if he knows that he's not like the star receiver anymore. But I think that the Bengals would just have to be very careful about how they go about that and how they present that case. And I hate to say it, but I don't know if I have enough faith in the organization to be able to do that. But hopefully they could figure it out because I would love to see AJ stay for a very long
Oh
time.
yeah. What's so weird when people say that, the Bengals organization's this, just terribly ran organization. It's weird that we have so many players stay for as long as they do. Like, and, great talent. I mean, AJ Green, who's probably at one point the top 2, top 3 wide receiver in the league for like 6 straight years, says he wants to retire a Bengal. And that tells you from a guy who's with that kind of character, what kind of organization he's playing for. So,
Yeah,
I hope we can keep AJ all the way through until he retires because I want to see him retire in stripes like Anthony Munoz. And by the way, while we're on the topic of Bengals retiring, we need a ring of honor or something to commemorate the players. Like, come on, man! Like this is an easy thing to do, Mike Brown. Please, I believe in you. Just do it. While staying with that, Anthony Munoz's jersey needs to be retired. No one should ever wear that hollow jersey. He's the
yeah,
greatest left tackle of all time. Retire it. How do you feel about that, Yaz?
I agree. Mm, I don't know if I want to like say it, but I just there's a lot of things that I'm like, don't why doesn't somebody tell Mike Brown? Like I don't think that we're a terribly run organization. I do think that like what's the right word? We're just kind of like outdated. Like it's just
Hmm.
I don't know how to explain it, but we need like somebody needs to tell him like we should be doing those things. We should be like even as far as the stadium, I'm like the number one person. The concrete jungle, it needs a makeover. Like it needs
Yeah.
like I see photos of the locker room and I'm like, we need to spice it up. We need to make it like just but I don't understand kind of their thought process with it and I stand behind them on literally everything. But if I had got the chance to come in there and be like, let's do a ring of honor, let's retire some jerseys, let's do like I definitely would want them to do that. But I don't know what it
Hmm.
is. I don't know why they don't do these things because it seems like there's so many of us out here saying it, but they just I don't know.
So, what I suspected is Mike Brown's only business is the Bengals. So,
Yeah.
like other owners have those outside things where they can just go in, they can remodel, they can do all that stuff. And then Cincinnati is not exactly like the richest city in America. I mean, it's not like bad off, but like the Browns and Cincinnati had to work together whenever it comes to remodeling the stadium and figuring it out. And like here in a few years, they could possibly. I'm like, Brown. I don't want them to move. I don't want them. I do not
Yeah.
want them to move. But they're gonna have to figure out the contract with the stadium, um, and it's just trying to figure out how to renew the stadium to where it just fits the cultural vibe right now. Like if you walk
Yeah.
into any SEC locker room, that shit goes. Sorry, that crap goes crazy. And it's just amazing. And the Bengals need like, could you imagine coming from the SEC, like sparkles, lights in the locker room, like big screens all over the place, and you come to the Bengals and like,
Like what is this?
what the
No,
hell?
like I agree. I'm the number one
Mhm.
advocate that like your environment fuels you and trust me, I've thought about this so many times. I'm like Joe Burrow has to go into our locker room. Like, come on, we gotta fix it.
Come on, come on. Guys, we're embarrassing ourselves. We're embarrassing ourselves in front of Joe. Like, stop, please stop.
I'm like, hold on.
Yeah.
But I mean, what can we do? We just
No, I
gotta
mean
love them.
it's just a work in progress. And you know what? Their media department they've
Oh
improved a
yeah,
lot,
they've
like
improved so much.
crazy amount.
Yeah, I totally agree. Just like these past two seasons, I'm like, oh yeah, all the videos and just like their
Mhm.
tweets and stuff, and they're kind of funny sometimes now too. I'm like, oh, I love this.
Yeah. I mean, I think that we're definitely trended in the right direction when it comes to a cultural norm with the Bengals, and Joe is bringing that for sure.
100%.
His love for SpongeBob just really resonates with me. Like yesterday, me and my friend were like literally making SpongeBob quotes back and forth with each other for like 30 minutes. I'm like, man, it was so good. And like Joe Barrow loves SpongeBob memes. I don't know if you know that, but like
Oh yeah,
it's
I know.
really, really great. Um, but let's stick with the Bengals a little bit. So I know, like last week before the Titans game, like the world wanted to light the Bengals coaching staff on fire. Like I was never there. I don't believe in changing uh, coaching organizations within like 3 years unless like, they're just straight up horrible, like Freddie Kitchens from the Browns last year, which that just never worked out. Now with Zach Taylor, you could tell from the first year the players bought in. It's just like this was a different process in rebuilding. How do you feel about it? Yes.
I've never been one to say like Zach Taylor needs to be fired. After
Mm.
that game when everybody was pissed at him, I wasn't like you need to get fired, but I was like, okay, Zach, you got to step it up. Like
Mhm.
like, we need more out of you because I was like, I can't keep defending somebody that's not improving.
Mhm.
And then after that, he just kind of like I would say the play calling the past 2 to 3 games has gotten a lot better, and I I don't think that he needs to go because I could tell that the players are locked in on him and I could tell that the players like want him there. So
Mhm.
there's definitely something that we don't see, but I think that it's just like when you look at Zach Taylor, when you listen to him talk, he seems like a very like nice, understanding, well thought out person. And sometimes though in a head coach you need kind of that like aggressive, realistic
Mhm.
quality, and I'm sure that he has it to a certain extent, but he is a lot like softer. And I don't mean that like, oh my God, bro, you're soft. Like, I just mean like he is a lot softer in what he does. And
Mhm.
it's obvious in his play calling, but I do think that it's getting better. And I don't think that he needs to be fired. But
Mhm.
I would love more than anything because right now he's has like the worst start as a coach or whatever. But I would love more than anything if suddenly he just started like going crazy and led us to playoffs and won the playoffs and went to the Super Bowl and stuff like that. Like, if we're gonna do that, if we're building towards that, I would absolutely love it to be Zach Taylor because I think he deserves it. Like, I do feel bad for him when we win. I'm like, thank you, Jesus. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I I don't know. I'm on the Zach Taylor. I'm on the Zach
Yeah.
Taylor train for
Well,
sure.
apparently Jake from Nebraska doesn't like us talking down on Zach Taylor. So, I mean, I love Zach as a person. He seems like a really, really cool guy. I agree that he needs to adopt that step on their throats mentality a little bit more. Like
Yeah.
that Colts game should have been put away in the second half. The fact that they creep back and got, won that game. I don't necessarily blame the offense. I blame the defense. But also, I mean, I can't. So when you look at this, the sheer amount of losses we have on our defense this year, it's hard to just say like, man, why aren't you guys playing so well? With half of them are rookies and half of them are free agents in a new system with a pretty new defensive coordinator in Lou Anarumo, which Lou has done pretty well. Like I mean, Lamar Jackson did not have a good game against us. He had a couple of touchdowns to Hollywood Brown and Mark Ingram for like, but other than that, he didn't rush on us. He had like 3 yards, and I think he had 150 yards passing. Really, the Ravens defense beat us that game. But yes, I agree that Zach needs to like just cinch down and win these close games. Um, yes, I'm gonna try and keep you less than 30 minutes. I know you're busy. Can you tell us where to find you on Twitter or Instagram or TikTok?
Yeah, so I actually just want to comment on the defense really quick. I do have a couple more
Yeah.
minutes and then I will. I was just gonna say, oh, the sun's coming out. That's nice.
Hey.
I'm like, woo! But anyway, I what I wanted to say about the defense is also that every game it's been like a different set of players. Like it's always
Mhm.
just like every single game. And I mean, obviously there's like certain ones that have played every single game, but for the most part, it feels like this game we're down this person, this game we're down this person, this game we're down a different person, and it's always like somebody different, somebody new, a new position, like and so our defense, they're young and they're injured, but I think that if we had everybody in the right spot, then they wouldn't be a worry. Um, I might be giving them too much credit, but I just really do like those players, and I hope that, I mean, next year, if when DJ Reader's back and if we get everybody
Oh,
back, I think it's going to be. I really, really praise and loved DJ Reader, and I felt like his presence was very felt through those first couple games before he was injured, and I do just like I'm waiting for him to come back because I feel like we need somebody like that on the defense to just like command the defense and be there. And I think for a second that could be Geno Atkins too, depending on if he gets more snaps and stuff. But um, yeah, the defense, dang it, during the Colts game, I was like, what is going on? They just kind of like completely just
what?
disassemble.
How? Yeah. So, I mean, while we're staying with the defense real fast, there is one player that's not getting a lot of hype or like look at, but the Bengals getting Colby Covington from Denver, he's played extremely well. Like he has made some plays. He was part of that fourth down stop against the Browns in that second game. And like, yeah, he's not a huge household name, but every time I watch the Bengals, I see Covington flash across my screen. It's,
Yeah.
not he's the biggest impact player, but I feel like no one's talking about him. And like I really, really, really like watching this kid play and what he can develop into. He kind of plays the same role as DJ Reader. So I mean, for a pinch backup defensive tackle, I love it. Real fast, like have you noticed our rookies are balling the hell out? Like it's crazy. Like this year's draft is going nuts, man. Um,
I love it. I mean,
yeah.
you love to see it, honestly.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, T especially. I mean, Joe Burrow, it's funny because I feel like whenever I do these things, I never like talk about Joe Burrow too much and I never like give him a lot of credit, but it's just because he's so good that I'm like, we don't even need to speak on it. We just know that he is
You just
just,
know, yeah.
but T Higgins, I feel like we've definitely seen his role improve in the past couple games and I love it and I could tell that like connection is building between Joe and T and I'm really excited to see who he becomes because he is definitely wearing that number 85 proudly right
Mhm.
now and he's making the plays to earn that jersey. So I'm really happy about that.
So and T Higgins, he had a terrible, terrible combine. And so that's why I think that's why he fell into the second round. And like, because no one
Yeah.
was talking about T Higgins after the combine because of his numbers. They weren't fantastic. Um, which turns out he said that he had a groin injury and couldn't move the way he wanted to. So like when I watch him now, I'm not watching that guy from the combine. He's a lot more fluid and he's a lot faster than I thought what I thought he was. And especially for a guy who's 6'4" and like I think 215 or 220 or something like that. Like he is a big, fast boy, man. Yeah, so I love seeing T. Higgins ball out, but also there's dude, Logan Wilson and ADG are showing the heck out too, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually really like both of them, and there are other players that I just hope that will grow with the Bengals and stay with the Bengals. And I
Mhm.
mean, I think we have something really special that we're building, and we're just like missing those few puzzle pieces to make it all click.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I think the future's right. Future is bright for the Bengals, as and I'm not gonna lie, I can't wait to watch it. Like, it feels so weird that I'm so excited for each and every week, even though we're not like our record doesn't say that we're a top team in the NFL. Their show and their play on the field really like resonates and like just gives me a hope for the future.
Yeah, it's
Um,
a fun team to watch for sure.
mhm. So, yeah, is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
I think we kind of covered it. Time went by so fast. It's so funny when you're talking about the Bengals. I feel like time just like
You're having
flies
fun.
by and
Yeah.
you just keep going forever. But no, I really appreciate you having me on. This was fun, and
Oh, no, no.
I will definitely have to do one like during a game day, reacting to like how we play. I've been asking this question to everybody, but we have 8 games left. How many do you think that the Bengals will win?
So let me look at the schedule real fast. I have it pulled up. Like, I mean, we could do very well right now. So we're playing pretty much the Giants, the Washington football team, Cowboys. So I think we can get 3 wins right there. Man, when it comes to the Steelers, it I mean, I don't know. The Steelers are very, very well ran this year, and they are undefeated. So I think the Bengals are gonna run up against a wall there. So, and then we got the Texans yet again. So I think we can reasonably win 4 games at least. Like we should win 4 games. And if we can, sneak one past the Ravens, who are probably going to be in the playoffs more than likely, maybe they rest their starters. I think we can get 5 wins out of 8. I think that's well within the realm of possibility for us. So yeah, I mean, I think we can go 5-3, maybe on the low end 3-5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I said 5 for sure, and but
Mhm.
I definitely said like we're gonna win a game that is not expected, and I hope that is one of the ones against the Steelers.
Oh, I do too. I can't stand them. I hate them. I hate
I
them
would
so
love
much.
to win the one coming out of the bye just because I want them to not be undefeated because of us.
Keep it rolling too, and keep that confidence
Yeah.
going, man. Yes, like I said, I appreciate you coming on. Like you're blessing me with your presence. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah,
Uh,
thanks again. This was fun.
yeah, yeah. Hopefully we can do it again sometime. Like I said, like I'm brand new to this stuff, still trying to figure it out. And I'm really happy that you came on and we got to talk about this because I love talking about my Bengals. And
Yeah.
And you put out some really, really funny by the way, I love your pep talks. I'm like, oh man, I was having a down week. That really helped out. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you. I appreciate it. I didn't do a pep talk this week. My pep talk was taking a bye week, but next week they'll be back. So definitely watch out for that on my Twitter. It's just at Commissioner Yas.
All right. Well, guys, I thank you. Appreciate you watching. Welcome to the Roar. Anytime, Yas. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.